Dear students, yesterday we were discussing the introduction to the Indian Constitution. That means what is an importance of a constitution, what is the meaning of constitution. Today I am taking the salient features of Indian Constitution. What are the salient features? The Constitution of India was framed after in-depth study of many challenges like poverty, illiteracy, deprivation and inequalities. Inequalities based on caste, creed, sex and maybe the religion. The constitution of any country, you know that it is the supreme law of the land. It lays down the basic structure of the government. It defines the powers, functions and responsibility of the each organ of the government. Therefore, it is considered to be the basis for the governance of any country. Since Constitution of India stands superior, all laws made by the legislatures have to be in conformity with the Constitution. The Constitution of India was created by the Constituent Assembly, not by the Parliament. Therefore, the Parliament cannot override the Constitution. Every written constitution in the world has its own unique characteristic features. The Indian Constitution is not an exception to it. Indian Constitution has many prominent features that it distinguishes it from the other constitution of the world. So, I list out some of the salient features of the Indian Constitution, that is longest written constitution, preamble, sovereign democratic republic country, welfare state, fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of the state policy and parliamentary form of the government, then a federal with a strong centralized tendency of nation. There is a unique blend of rigidity and flexibility, judicial review, universal adult suffrage, single citizenship, independent judiciary and secularism and emergency provisions. These are the salient features of Indian Constitution. So, we know that in compared to the world, the Indian Constitution was one of the lengthiest constitution. Constitution of USA has only 7 articles, whereas our constitution at the time of commencement it contained 395 articles, 22 parts and 8 schedules. Now you know that after many amendments brought to Indian Constitution, now we have totally 448 articles divided into 25 parts and 12 schedules. Why the Indian Constitution is so lengthy or so biggest one? What are the reasons for that? So, I can justify by giving some reasons why Indian Constitution is so bulky. First one is Indian Constitution follows the British parliamentary form of a government like bicameral legislature, and it embodies some of the fundamental rights which are similar to the Bill of Rights that is declared by the United States Constitution. It elaborates a set of directive principles of the state policies as does in Irish Constitution. India is a federal state in which a detailed list dividing up powers between the central and state government like union list, state list and concurrent list as well as residual powers. It deals with the organ and structure not only the central government and as well as the state government. So, why American Constitution has only the 7 articles means the Constitution of federal state having a provisions only 7 articles. It deals with only the federal structure, federal powers and functions. But in India, Indian Constitution, it power divided between the state and center, and it has organization and structure, and not only the central government, it provides organization and structure of the state government also. The Government of India Act 1935 was in operation we got an independence. The act was, we know that act was very voluminous document, and its incorporation has naturally made the Indian constitution is so bulky. India is a country of great diversity. That means we have several minorities like religious minorities, languages, caste, race, etc. It consists of a provision for the protection and interest of religious, linguistic minorities. Means even the minorities' rights are introduced in the constitutions in the itself. It consists of provisions relating to official languages, government service, electoral machinery, etc. In fact, in other countries, these matters are usually governed by the ordinary law enacted by the legislature. India is a country of great diversity. It is a country of several minorities like religions, languages, caste, race, etc. It consists of a provision for the protection of interest of religious linguistic minorities, and even for official languages, government service, and electoral machinery. In fact, in other countries, these matters are usually left to be governed by the ordinary law enacted by the legislature, but in India, we brought under the Indian Constitution. It also contains detailed provisions relating to the citizenship. That's why Indian Constitution is so bulkiest constitution. So why we all provisions regarding to religious minorities, language minorities, and electoral machinery, all why we brought under the Indian Constitution means we have to give a constitutional status to make a good administration in the country. That's why our constitution is so bulky. Rather, in other countries, I am already told you, these matters are left to the legislature by way of making an ordinary legislation they have administered. Next one is the salient features of Indian Constitution is the preamble. You know that Indian Constitution, entire Indian Constitution, what says in a very crisp manner, it is mentioned in the preamble itself. What is the nature of Indian Constitution? What is an objective of Indian Constitution? What is the source of Indian Constitution? Once we get into the preamble, we can know that. Preamble is one of the basic feature of the Indian Constitution. In US, the Constitution deals only with the federal government. It leaves the state for their own constitution. But in India, Indian Constitution provides for both union and state. Preamble reflects the basic structure and spirit of the Constitution. It represents the entire Constitution in the written words within the preamble. I am already told you, preamble is nothing but that is an introduction given to the Constitution. Entire Constitution, what it says, we can know that by getting to the preamble. The preamble to the Constitution embodies the fundamental values and philosophy on which the Constitution is based, and it describes the source of nature, ideology, goals, and objective of the Constitution. That means once we read the preamble, we can know that what is the philosophy of the preamble and what are the source of nature, ideology, goals, and objective of the Constitution. That's why the preamble is very important. Preamble describes India as a sovereign, republic, socialist, secular, democratic country. It underlines the objectives of Indian Constitution, that is economic, social, and political justice, as well as fraternity. It emphasizes the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. It declares that in India the people are sovereign. It means preamble highlights the type of society we have, what kind of a society we have, that can be reflected in the preamble itself. So we can know that it is a sovereign country, socialist country, secular country, democratic, republic country. We have objectives like a national objective like a social justice, economic justice, political justice, and as well as fraternity. So we uphold the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. And finally, this preamble declares that India is a preamble declares that in India people are sovereign. Who are the supreme? We are the supreme. People are sovereign. So that means that after studying the preamble, we can know that what is the kind of society it has. This nation, what kind of a society it has. Entire thing can be described in the preamble itself. The preamble serves as a tool or channelizing tool for the interpretation of a constitution as a whole. That means if any confusion or ambiguity arises with regard to any articles, so with the interpretation of that article, sometimes judges take in a help from the preamble, because the preamble what says? So nature of a state, character of a society, it reflects. That's why we can take a help from the preamble while interpreting the article of any ambiguity. The word socialist and secular was inserted by 42nd Amendment in 1976. Before that, only the word socialist we had. Later on, by 42nd Amendment, it is inserted secular. So today we are having a socialist and secular state. In the same amendment, we brought another one changes. Earlier it has preamble has only the unity of the nation. This word unity was replaced by the unity and integrity of the nation. Unity and integrity means to make more powerful the word unity, we added the word integrity. That's all. The significance of the preamble of Indian Constitution lies in these words, we the people of India, we the people of India. These words emphasizes that ultimately the powers are vested with the hands of the people. We the people of India, that means the power vested with the people. Who are the supreme in India? The people are supreme. Where sovereignty lies? Sovereignty lies with the people. Once in 5 years, by way of an election, we send our representative for the governance of the country. It is a representative forum of a government. So what are the objectives of the preamble? Already I told you, preamble focusing the four main objectives, that is equality, justice, fraternity and liberty. Equality means it implies to equal opportunity for one and all. That means equal opportunity should be given. Justice, I already told you, it ensures economic justice, political justice and as well as social justice. Fraternity means the aims in maintaining the integrity and strength of the country along with the individual dignity. Without a fraternity, it is very difficult to attain the dignity of the individual. Without the dignity of the individual, it is very difficult to attain the fraternity of the in between the people. Because in order to ensure the integrity, dignity of an individual, we must achieve the fraternity. The last one is the liberty. It is also one of the aim of our Indian Constitution. It assures every citizen of India has a freedom of speech and expression, religious independence, like so on. They have a liberty. In many cases, first one is in Re case, the court held that preamble was not a part and parcel of the constitution, but later on in many cases like Keshwaranda Bharati case, S.R. Bommai case, Indira Gandhi versus Rajnaran case, then Indira Sawhney case, court held that preamble is a part and parcel of Indian Constitution, though it is not within the 395 articles, even it is out of the articles, but it is a part and parcel of the Indian Constitution. The Constitution of India declares that it is a sovereign democratic republic. That means Indians are free people under the Constitution. India is a member of a Commonwealth nation. It does not affect the sovereignty or character of India. Further, Constitution establishes representative democracy, and ultimately sovereignty lies with the people. They can act, they can govern the society through their representative. Term republic has a different meaning in political science. Republic means the state in which the supreme power rests with the people and their elected representative, not in UK. Their supreme power lies with the crown. Here supreme power lies with the president, who is an elected body. He is not a nominated or he is not a hereditary person. We have an elected president instead of a hereditary king as head of our nation. Okay. Next one is welfare state. India is a welfare state. Know that many of the provisions we have in directive principles of the state policy to ensure how the welfareness of the society can achieve. Social justice and economic justice is an essential condition for the welfare state. Without social and economic justice, it is not possible to achieve the welfare state. And this social justice and economic justice prohibit discrimination. Economic justice means non-discrimination between the person on the basis of economic value. Political justice ensures free and fair representation in the politics. Therefore, it involves adult franchise system. That means anyone who completed the age of 18 years, he can vote without requirement of any special qualifications. You know that fundamental rights is very important. It's come under the part 3rd of Indian Constitution. From Article 12 to 35, we can have a set of fundamental rights. It is also one of the salient features of Indian Constitution. So, no democracy is worthy without fundamental rights. If there is no fundamental rights, that means the Constitution is not a worthy Constitution. The fundamental rights are basic rights conferred to the citizen of the nation by the Constitution. Generally, fundamental rights means it set out the rights of individuals and as well as responsibilities of the government, because the rights and duties are correlative. If on the one side, if the Constitution gives the rights without confirming the obligation on the another side, it is not possible to the person enjoy those rights. That's why fundamental rights are guaranteed to the citizens as well as correlative responsibilities are imposed on the government. If the fundamental rights are violated by the state or anyone else, in that circumstances the individual whose fundamental rights are violated, he can approach either the Supreme Court under Article 32 or he can approach High Court under the Article 226 for the enforcement of his fundamental right. These fundamental rights are not absolute right, they are qualified right. That means some restrictions, they are called a reasonable restrictions imposed on the fundamental rights. Those fundamental rights, that is from Article 14 to 35 are set of rights, are not absolute right. We can't say these are all fundamental right. I can't curtail the others fundamental right in the name of my fundamental right. That's why state imposed reasonable restrictions on the fundamental rights. That means they are subjected to reasonable restriction. We know that out of these fundamental rights, some rights are available only to the citizens, others are available to all persons. He may be a citizen, may not be a citizen. He may be from the alien country. The following depend upon the characteristics of the rights, we classified these fundamental rights into a 4 category, that is right to equality from Article 14 to 18, right to freedom, that is Article 19 to 22, right against exploitation, Article 23 and 24, right to freedom of religion, Article 25 to 28, and cultural and educational minorities right under Article 29 and 30. Recently, by 86th Amendment, the right to education has been included in the list of fundamental right under Article 21A. Next, the characteristic features of Indian Constitution is the parliamentary form of the government. We know that one is presidential form of a government, another is a parliamentary form of the government. USA has a presidential model. We have the parliamentary model. It is a parliamentary form of government. We have a parliamentary form of a government both at the center and as well as the state. It is a parliamentary form of government or parliamentary democracy is also known as cabinet government. Sometimes we call it is a parliamentary democracy also we called. In a parliamentary system of a government, executive is created out of legislature and they are accountable to the legislature. We know that how the cabinet ministers are taken from the body of the legislature. They are the members of the legislature. It is one of the house, either they are the member of the Lok Sabha or they are the member of the Rajya Sabha. So, that is in this manner executive or cabinet is created and it is a part of the parliamentary system and it is a part of the parliament, hence they are accountable to the legislature or parliament. Another important feature of parliamentary system of government is there is a two types of executive, one is a real executive, another one is nominal executive. So, we know that President is the nominal executive. In his name, entire India's administration has to be done or we can be carried. The power exercised by the President or lies with the President and the functions are carried in his name. Really, these functions are carried by the Prime Minister accompanied by the Cabinet Minister. Prime Minister is the real executive, the President is the nominal executive. This is the structure we have. There is a fusion between the legislature and executive in the parliamentary form of the government. That is why Parliament exercises the control between the working of the Council of Ministers. I am already told you the executive is a part of the Parliament. That is why we call it as a fusion. So, that is why the Parliament exercises continuous control over the Cabinet Ministers or Council of Ministers. While session going on, in that circumstances, the Cabinet Ministers or government is accountable to the legislatures in the House. The normally leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha is appointed as a Prime Minister and all ministers are essentially the members of the Parliament. I told you. Ministers act both as a legislature as well as the head of the government department. I told you already the cabinet or ministers or council of ministers, they are the members of the legislature. That is why they act both as a legislature as well as the head of the government department. The next the characteristic features of Indian constitution is the federal state. We have federal state, no doubt. But we have a unique characteristic feature in this. We have a federal state. In this federal structure, we have the strong centralized tendency. That means normally in a federal state, what happened? The state government is so stronger rather than federal center in a federal structure. But in India, here the central government or union government is so strong compared to the state government. Why this kind of an structure we have means normally federal state constituted when that means small state for the fearance of or apprehensions, there is a attacked by the foreign military system. In that circumstances, they constituted a federal state for their protection from the external aggression. But instead of that, in India we have single unit. India is not a different countries, it is a single unit. We have a small unit within the India. So that's why we have, based on the languages, we have a federal structure, that is a federal state. That's why central union or central organ is so strong compared to the state government. There are certain provisions in the constitution which empowers the parliament, that is in the central government, to legislate even the subject matters which are enumerated in the state list. So we know that legislative powers are demarcated, or it is divided between the state and center. They are called a union list and central list, and another one is the concurrent list. So we can know that with regard to union list, the parliament has a supreme power or a complete power, they can make a legislation. With regard to state list, the state legislature has the power to make a legislation. With regard to concurrent list, both union and state legislature has a power. But so how we can justify the strong centralized tendency means some certain provisions in the constitution which empowers the parliament to legislate even though those subject matters come under the next salient feature of Indian constitution is the fundamental duties. If you get into the, or if you look into the original constitution, we didn't have any fundamental duties. These fundamental duties were inserted to the Indian constitution by 42nd amendment in 1976. So that means we had incorporated totally 10 fundamental duties in 1976 by way of 42nd amendment to the Indian constitution under article 15(1)(a). So we incorporated totally 10 fundamental duties by way of 42nd amendment in 1976 under article 51(a) of the Indian constitution. By 86th Amendment Act in 2002, we had added one more fundamental duty, that is as a result we had totally 11 fundamental duties under article 51(a). These duties are more important and necessary for the vital interest of our country. These fundamental duties are incorporated into the Indian constitution to remind every citizen that they should not conscious about only their rights, but they are conscious even about their duties also. Fundamental duties are defined as a moral obligations of all citizens to help to promote the spirit of patriotism and to uphold unity and integrity of nation, and there is no legal sanction for the violation of these fundamental duties. We know that fundamental rights, on the other hand, something is different. For the violation of a fundamental rights, there is a legal sanction. But these fundamental duties under the Indian constitution is only a moral obligations on us, that means citizens of India. There is no legal sanction for the violation of these duties. Fundamental duties are defined as a moral obligations. They are moral obligation on us to help to promote a spirit of patriotism and to uphold unity of India. There is no legal sanction for the violation of fundamental duties. So, but for the violation of fundamental rights, there is a legal sanction, that is backed by the legal sanction. But on the other hand, for the fundamental duties, there is no legal sanction. It is only obligations or moral obligations on the citizen, they have to comply it. So here I will stop my discussion. Next class I will continue the characteristic features of Indian constitution, that is directive principles of the state policy and so on. So let me meet in the next class.